Hello, welcome to what I'm lovingly calling Rose pre-films the intro to make sure that she asks if she has to, she can get a book from a library, right? From Libby. That's what we're lovingly calling this. Is it like the last weekish of January? Yes. But like normally I'd wait until like the end of the first like week-ish of the month before I do this, but like the month like starts at the weekend, so, and that's of course we're gonna film this. So here we are filming the intro to the weekend reading vlog. I don't know which number where I pull it from my beautiful TBR jar. Yellow is leftovers from last year. Pinks are ones that are from my 24 and 2024, specifically ones that I don't already have planned, or ones that I know aren't out yet. Like there were a few that were ones that like come out throughout the year. So we I know there's a lot of sequels in here, so be aware for that, but I'm just gonna go for it. I'm not looking at the jar, do not worry. Oh, they're all stuck together. Oh, okay, well either one's gotta be pink. They're stuck together. Do I take the one that was in the middle? I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm doing. Okay, what do we have today? The Marriage of Opposites. I should pull it up and show you. Can you see my tiny handwriting? At least my nails on this hand match the sticky note. I think I own that physically. I do. Doesn't look that okay then. The fonts, okay. 300 something-ish pages, 360 something. I've read two Alice Hoffmans. One of them I read previously, but I read both of them last year because I reread it, which was Faithful. And then the newest one, which I can't remember the name of, but it was weird. It had some weird time travel stuff. I don't know. Faithful I did really like though. And then because I do that when I saw this at a library book sale in Bestie's hometown. So it's in the what is it? Book haul. There we go. Oh my god. That I did of all those books. It was in there. I think this is on my actual TBR too. So like, not for the month, but in general. So there's that going for me. Okay, it's not just something random from that pile. But yes, I remember seeing this and being like, sure. I did throw away the dust jacket because it was like all bent weird and whatnot, but I got it for like 5 seconds. 5 seconds? What? 5 cents. So there's that. There's a good possibility I can find the audiobook as well. I know basically nothing about this. Should I look it up? Probably. Okay, I looked it up. It's the 1800s. Rachel is a young girl who has like plans and dreams of her future and whatnot, but of course none of them happen, and she's married off to this widower with 3 kids of his own, so to save like the family business or something, right? And so she does that, and then suddenly he dies, and his nephew comes to settle the estate. I think his kids are like still children, right? And then she starts a torrid affair with the attractive nephew to try and get control of her own life again and whatnot, right? And her favorite son does not like this and all this stuff. And there's like this whole thing about how it's said like the story of the father of Impressionism or something like that. And I don't know if it's based off of a true story or not. I should check that. But definitely seems my type of speed. Didn't even read the synopsis before I bought it, but definitely seems my type of speed. Or whatnot. I just realized the book matches my nails. Also, this is what the inside of this jacket looks like. So interesting. But that's that. That's what I'm reading. Next week, and not this weekend, but next weekend. Hello, hi. It is the Saturday of the weekend where I need to read this book. I have read the first chapter. It is 41 pages long. which is obscene. And I do have access to the audiobook from Libby, but I think I'm just gonna go with my eyeballs. Right? I think between today and tomorrow I can totally read this, right? With just my eyeballs. Because hear me out. The jar loves me again. I remembered that I didn't like both The Spanish Love Deception and Bleeding Earth. I did not remember. I just went and checked that they happened back to back. The way it went from Crave to those two, I thought the jar loved me. But no, it doesn't. And then it gave me this. And this, I'm not giving 5 stars yet from it, but I've only read the first chapter. Like, it just got to the part where she is now engaged with a man. I recorded the intro to this a long time ago, right? So I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I remember looking up the synopsis and explaining that she's like 15, 16, I'm pretty sure, when they get engaged. But basically, she is forced into a marriage to a guy who is 44, 30 years her senior, who has 3 kids. The youngest being about a year old, the middle child being like 4, and his wife has like somewhat recently died. Like, she died right after giving birth, like within like 2 weeks, right? And so there's like things with the weather causing ships to crash, and so like her father's business is failing, and the other guy has like ships or something like that. So they're gonna work together, and the best way to do that is with marriage, because that's a legal binding contract that will prove that they have to work together, blah 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 blah, right? Because everything's tied with family. And so how do I explain her? Rachel, that's her name, right? It's literally not once is her name said, except like at the beginning of each chapter. It like says the chapter, what chapter it is, the title of the chapter, the location, the year, and her name, I guess. I don't know, the character's name. And so her name's Rachel. Right? So she is an only child. Her parents did both have, or her parents shortly after her, like within 9 months after she was born, and which was a tumultuous birth already, her mom gave birth to a boy who pretty quickly died. And since then, her parents have basically been separated. Like, it's the 1800s, like 1818 is the second chapter. So, like, it's the early 1800s. So, like, they're not separated or divorced, but, like, her dad's never home. It's insinuated that he probably is having an affair of some kind, right? Her mother takes it out on her, in a very abusive situationship, and whatnot, right? So, basically, like, the way it's set up is that between the, probably postpartum depression, highly probably straight up depression of losing her baby, and grief of that, and then also, like, the physical trauma of giving birth to a baby. Once she was better from doing all of that and was able to take care of the home again, her father was just never home. And the rare times that he was home, he would just let her do whatever she wanted, because she's his only child. And so he would teach her about bookkeeping and all this business stuff, like she was the son that he never had, or couldn't have, right? So there's that mixed with her abusive mother, who really hates how she is very much more in her own head. She really likes stories. She reads all the time. She spends all her time in her father's library. There's like this one story where her parents fought because she was in the library reading with her best friend, who is their servant's daughter. So they like were in the library reading with her dad, who would like teach them like all these languages. Like, they know like 5 languages and whatnot, because he just likes doing that. That's what he knows how to do, what to do, and that's like his love language, I guess, right? And the mother gets angry because she's all like, she's a girl, she should be in the kitchen, blah blah blah, blah, right? And so there's this whole fight, and it's like, since that day the mother isn't allowed to go into the library, right? And so tries to threaten her, but then she's just like, so between her mother's abuse and also emotional abuse, there's also that, and how she stands up to that, mixed with her fantastical view in the world, being as the only really people she knows are people in fairy tales and in stories, right? Other than her best friend, and even her like best friend is also fantastical like that. So it's like, right?
Uh, so that mixed with her business like mind and her analytical mind in that way makes it so when her father comes to her and in the middle of the night when she's like in her nightgown and he's wearing a suit and she's like, oh no, something serious is happening, and she like saw the books at one point, so she knows the business is failing right now, and so she's like, okay, and he's all like, hey, so there's this guy and you're gonna marry him, and she like all the paperwork's like already done, it's basically confirmed, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna meet him officially, right? And her dad's like, I don't know about that, and she's like, no, you're gonna bring him to me, and he's all like, is that really necessary? And she's like, is breathing necessary? That is a literal sentence she says. Is breathing necessary? And she says that she needs to meet him, very much like in the way where like he's all like, he's a nice guy, he'd keep you safe and like comfortable and whatnot, and it's like, yeah, but like you're one, the father of the child he's going to marry, and two, a man. So what do you really know? So like very much smart in like trying to put feelers out for what type of guy he actually is, right? And so then he brings the guy over, and the two of them are drinking wine while she's just sitting there in like this dress that her mom, like this whole outfit her mom made her put on to like make her look older. She's like 15. He knows this, okay? Right? And she's only allowed to be drinking wine. She's like, I wish, or not wine, tea. She's like, I wish I was drinking rum. Valid. And so she ends up having, like, they keep on ignoring her. And so then she kicks her father out, basically. And it's like, I'm gonna have a candid conversation with you, right? Quickly realizes, one, he's kind of afraid of her. Two, and very nervous around her. And two, that he's still in love with his dead wife. Right? And so she's like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to meet your children. And he's all like, they're like kind and nice and well taken care of, and they're not like overly rambunctious. You don't have to worry about that. She's like, no, I'm gonna meet your children. This is a thing that has to happen. Doesn't exactly tell him why, but she's all like, this is my opinion of something that needs to happen. And being as we're going to be married, you need to kind of know my opinions and thoughts on things. So, this needs to happen. He's like, okay, of course. And she's like, see, we had our first fight. And like, we're not worse for wear. It's very funny. But basically with her, all the fairy tales that she's read and stories, it's always like the evil stepmother, right? We all like Cinderella and whatnot. So she doesn't want to be like that to his children, and also mixed with the fact that the only motherly affection she's really had is from her abusive mother. And other than that is like the cook slash servant who is the mother of her best friend. She's kind to her, but like not motherly, really. Also, there's like some weird thing where she can like talk to ghosts. I didn't bring that up, but that's a thing. So she goes to meet the children. She's like, okay, you guys go out, have fun. I'm gonna hang out with the kids for an hour. The boys who don't know that she's gonna be the stepmother, they know that their dad's gonna get remarried, but they don't know that's her, right? Because she's like too young in their eye to be their stepmom, right? And so they're like, we're getting a new mom, and she immediately is like, nope, because you can only have one mom in the world. No one can replace her, right? And the older one is very into storytelling, like her, and then the like younger boy is very much like her cousin, but like they have a whole friendly thing. I didn't bring up the fact that the cousin and the best friend are kind of having a relationship, but it's kind of illegal in the community, blah 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 blah. Anyways, the younger boy and her get along because like he's like 4 and is scared of stories and whatnot, so she explains to him the purpose of storytelling and all this stuff, and they have like this whole thing where he looks up to her and she protects him with her like strong exterior or whatnot, but then like her fantastical interior, the older son and her get along in that way, and then she like looks around the whole house and then goes in the kitchen, finds the servant in the kitchen with the baby, right? Immediately befriends the servant. Like the servant's very questionable about the whole thing, and she's like, I don't know if I can trust you. And she's like, hey, you're gonna keep your job, I'm not gonna fire you, you seem like a nice woman, your soup's really good, I really like it, and I know you care about these children, so you don't have to worry about me harming them anyway or anything like that, and I'll know that if I'm doing a bad job, you'll tell me with the children, right? And so they get along, and so she lets her hold the baby, and named Hannah, and she instantly falls in love with this baby. She's like, ooh, ooh. And so she's like, okay, I'm happy with this. I'm down. And she tells him after the fact, I like your children, but you don't have to worry about the fact that I know you're still in love with your wife. I know you're a thing. That's good. That's just gonna be a thing. This isn't gonna be a true marriage in that way. And he's all like, you would make a great businesswoman. And she's like, well, instead I'm gonna be your wife, and you don't have to worry about ever loving me. And that's where I left off. The beginning of chapter 2 is them making the dress, the wedding dress. So I assume this goes up to the wedding. And then it cuts like 5 years later for chapter 3. So yeah, that's what's happening in this. I'm really liking it. The writing style is great. It is slow, but I really like it. Methodical. Also, I did look at this up, and it is based off of real people. So that's fun. And yeah, that's the update. I do not think I had to go into this much detail. Maybe I'll cut out some of it. Anyway, I'm gonna go make lunch at like 4 p.m.
Hello, hi. It's like 3 p.m. on Sunday, and I'm about a third of the way through. I got to page 94, I believe. It was chapter 4. Yes, I got to chapter 4 last night, right? And I just read another chapter because the guy who is the nephew of her husband, who is her true love, blah 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 blah, and the father of her child, which is the famous one, the famous painter, right? It switches to his POV in the next chapter and whatnot. So I think a good point to update. 1/3 of the way through. 2 update about what I read yesterday. 3 pivotal change. A lot of characters have died. I'm not gonna explain too much because 1, spoilers, and 2, I spent too long yesterday explaining things. Okay. But basically, a lot of characters have died. I understand. Like at the very beginning of the scene, it clicked in my brain where the kidnapping content warning comes from. So that's fun. Freaked out about that briefly last night, so that's great. Fuck Aaron. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And whatnot. But yes, based on the fact that his nephew's coming, I think we all recognize that he's died. The beginning of the last chapter that I just read was him dying, her becoming a widow. She is a few months pregnant, I think 6 months pregnant, when he dies. Already has 3 kids that she had with him, and then the 3 kids from his first wife. So she's a mother of 7 by herself. She is working with the black man who technically a slave, technically working for a father. It's complicated, right? Who worked in the shop and did a lot of business stuff for her dad. So she's working with him to like keep the business running, partially, but also because she's a woman and can't inherit like anything, and this nephew's gonna inherit everything. She basically is just living above this door with her 7 children. Not a lot of space for that. And just trying to like live and whatnot. She just turned 30. I think she was like 20 when she got married. I'm pretty sure. I think I had the age wrong. But yeah. So that's a thing that's happening. And the nephew's on his way. Like the next chapter literally starts with him arriving to the island, right, to deal with all the business stuff, which is all failing. Like the business stuff is all failing. A lot of things have been sold, gotten rid of, possessions that they could get rid of legally, and whatnot, and for downsizing and whatnot, but because like she's a woman, she can't technically inherit like anything. So yeah, basically she has to wait until this stranger just shows up and figure out what to do. If he basically just makes it so she has nothing, and try to hope and make sure that she does get something from this whole situation, because otherwise, one, her whole entire family business goes out, and everything that her family worked very hard to make survive goes out. The whole entire purpose she got married
dies. But also, then she like doesn't have anything other than just like 7 children that she has to find a way to take care of on her own at 30. Like, right? The best chances of that are probably getting remarried. I don't know. Though she does enjoy being a widow, because that means she can go out and just walk around at like midnight and no one can question her, because like who's gonna question her, right? And whatnot. I think that's it. That's the update. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still really liking it. In about 2.5 hours, I know there are reading sprints happening, so I think I'm gonna go to those and finish it off. I want to possibly get to page 200 before then, but I don't know. But I'm gonna make myself a late lunch / early dinner, and then I will either update you. I'll try to update you halfway through, but I'll definitely update you tomorrow morning with any other thoughts, because I don't think I'll update right before I go to bed. That's not gonna happen. I know this about myself. I would say it and then it would not happen, so I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen. But yeah, that's the update. I read one more chapter and it was like 45 pages. 45 pages. And it's just short of being halfway through. Like, the amount of pages to get halfway through would be half a chapter. Also, I'm watching Sprints right now, so this is a fast update for halfway through. Still looking at, they are officially together. That whole entire chapter was them getting together and everyone be like, hey, technically it's an illegal, because like, even though you're not related by blood, she's still your aunt, like, right? So people are very standoffish, and whatnot, thinking they're living in sin, they aren't allowed to get married and whatnot, but she's had a baby. Still looking at it is nearly 8 p.m. So because this is so slow paced, especially with really long chapters, I'm going to pick up the audiobook. I already had it from Libby. I just checked and it's like just under, like 4 minutes under 8 hours left with where I'm at. So like, shouldn't take me longer than 3 hours to finish, right? So I can finish it tonight with the audiobook. So that's the plan. What is this, me recording in 3 different areas for one vlog? I finished it like half an hour before midnight. Power of audiobook. It was good. I cried at the end, or near the end, because like, hear me out, more characters die. I was expecting that to happen. I don't know if it was because I picked up the audiobook and I was making it go faster, but it definitely felt like the first half was much slower than the second half. And it may be a mix of that, but also the fact of how much time is spent with each of those. Because the first half is basically like a decade of Rachel's life. Like her getting married and, well, her whole entire childhood, and then her getting married, and then her marriage, and then her being a widow, and then her meeting her second husband / the nephew of her first husband, then them falling in love and them being shunned by the community, and then them eventually ending up together and being happy and having their children and whatnot. And then all of a sudden it is from Camille, the son who becomes the painter, that blah blah blah, right? He it suddenly is his point of view as well as Lydia's point of view, who is a character I did not bring up. She's like the best friend's daughter, right? And so it's like they're both, Lydia is like in her 30s, I assume. She's married happily, has kids, whatnot. Camille, when they meet, it's like somewhere's around the age that his mother was when she got married the first time, right? Somewhere's in that range. And it suddenly is like his point of view from like his childhood
into adulthood, and then him meeting with Lydia and all that stuff. Come in, you want to come in? You want to come in? Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I love talking about books with you. Oh, yes. You can't kiss me. So it's like all of that fun stuff, right? And then it's basically switching between his POV, one chapter with Lydia's POV, and Rachel's POV for the rest of the book. And it's like 40 years of life or something like that. Like, suddenly, like, there's all this stuff happening. He's trying to find his place in the world, and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, they're living in Paris and he's married and has children of his own. Like, right? So, you know, that's a fun time. I do like the whole aspect where, like, throughout most of her adolescence, people always told her that she was, like, her mother and her were one and the same, very similar, and she, like, despised her mother for good reason. And then she had Camille, and Camille was so much like her that she pushed him away like her mother did to her. Not in the abuse ways, but, like, emotionally did, and, tried to force him into living the life that she thought best for him, like her mother did for her, and all this stuff. And how he just dreamed of going off specifically to Paris and living the life that he always wanted to live and do the things that he deems important to himself. Meanwhile, she was never able to do that because she's a woman, and so all that stuff, that aspect was nice. I liked that. The two main revelations throughout the book about people's parentage and and whatnot was unexpected, and whatnot. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I'm keeping it. I figured out where I'm gonna put it on my shelf, and whatnot. I'm rating it 4 stars, and that's that. I read it. Also, did I mention this? It was on my 24 and 2024. I don't remember if I did. Look at me finishing one of those books.